Hello everybody and welcome back. So Faturator is a pretty neat piece of gear, isn't it? It's a dynamics preserving distortion plugin extraordinaire with all kinds of hidden tips and tricks. I'm going to try out 3 things that you might not have thought of to do with this thing today. So let's take a look. So let's start by absolutely burning a vocal, which I want to sound kind of otherworldly in this track that I'm working on, as a contrast to a much more down-to-earth section that we'll hear in a second. So without any Faturator, the vocal sounds like this.
Calling ground control, it's lonely out in space, and I want to come back down.
And with Faturator, let's turn the mix right up so you can hear it absolutely crushing with the drive here. This is a kind of analog tube style distortion.
Calling ground control, it's lonely out in space, and I want to come back down.
So there's a degree of that kind of long traveling radio signal sound there, but I'm going to mix that very, very low so that it's just subtly adding some color, some edge. And then, because we're working in SnapHeap instead of as a standalone plugin, we can use the input envelope information, the volume of that incoming signal as it changes, to drive the mix amount and turn this into a kind of a dynamic distortion that increases with the volume of the incoming signal.
Calling ground control, it's lonely out in space, and I want to come back down.
So the louder the sound coming in, the more saturation you get. And that's kind of effective. It's like singing into a great big old guitar amp or something. Why not give it a try? So that section leads into this section. This is all work in progress, by the way, I should say. But we have this resonator, which I built in Phase Plant. And this is a noise impulse going into a resonator plugin to create a kind of physical modelled string instrument or whatever. And without Faturator, it sounds, I guess, a little bit basic. And what I want to do with Faturator here is use envelopes to drive certain elements of the sound. Now, even without adding any distortion at all, you can use the color here as a sort of filter peak to add a little bit of dynamic and movement to the sound. So what I'm doing is using this first envelope to create a kind of filter sweep with the attack of each of these sounds. And that's immediately more interesting. So it's just a little resonant filter peak there that's being moved with the attack of the instrument. And then I'm doing a similar but slightly faster attack for the drive and the fuzz here in quite extreme amount. So those are both being modulated by this envelope. And we get a much more dynamic, interesting, vibrant sound out of things. I'm also using the stereo knob here to add a little bit of a delay to one channel, left or right, and give a sense of stereo image. Here's how it sounds without. And with. Just creates a little bit of space. Of course, you can also do this in SnapHeap if you're using an audio source. There's a slightly different way of going about it. You would, again, use the input envelope information of that audio source. So you could do this with a guitar or maybe some drums, and you would drive those features with the envelope information coming in. For a very similar effect. Interesting way to use Faturator, no? And now the third little idea that I want to try out today is to just make a kick unrecognizable with different colors and tunings of distortion. So let's listen first of all to the kick as it was. Let's solo up all the drums, in fact. So that's a very simple 808 kick, and it's kind of a little bit basic. We're going to add some drive here. It's already got a bit more color. Let's bring in the fuzz. And now using the color control, that peaking filter, we can just emphasize certain frequency content to tune that distortion. So all kinds of different sounds. Now, obviously, possible to go completely crazy here. And create any number of different styles of beats. So there you are, just 3 things you might want to try with Faturator. Have you got any creative ideas on how you might use Faturator? Anything slightly out there or wacky? Why not leave a comment and tell us? Give us your thoughts. And we'll be back with more very soon. Bye bye.